OG Mo Diamonds. You the first in the building tonight. What up, PJ Mayhem? You the second. What's happening, man? Thanks for tapping in. You already know what it is. I'm the Mind Plug. This is We Poppin' Son. I'm waiting for my co-host and son, Tymillz, comedian Tymillz, to join us. Meanwhile, I'm going to put up my website where you can get my books and my other merch. J Sco 100. What's going on, J Sco 100? Thanks for tapping in. And We Poppin'. There go Ty right there. Hey, before you start, why is the second P in Bob lowercase? I like people who pay attention. Hold on one second. Let me bring time. I'm gonna tell you. So when I created my publishing company, what up, son? I don't hear you. I don't hear you. Nothing. So when I created my publishing company is called Body of Power Publishing. That was the original name. It's Body of Power Media Group now because it's going beyond publishing. So BOP, Bob, was me, then BOPP, Body of Power Publishing. So that's why, it's a lowercase. It's Body of Power, and then the lower P is for publishing. That's where it came from. That's what's up, PJ Max. Why the lowercase P on the back of the Bob? I like observing people. So I can't hear you, Ty. Can anybody else hear Ty? Can you hear Ty, PJ? Yo, I think I hear. Say something. I know you ain't in these headphones. That's in the bag. I don't think you are. I don't think these are on. Hello? No, it's not, they're not on. So I don't hear you. Maybe you need to tap back in. So, yeah, man. So I definitely think that we need to talk about this young man that was at his death penalty hearing for the foolio. Trey Oxendine, what's happening, family? I definitely think we should talk about that because what up, JTXP? Y'all probably should ask. I can hear.
I can hear you now.
Yeah. But you can hear me either?
Nah, no. At first I couldn't hear you. Then I could, but I was on the phone, and then it hung up, and then
that connection. If you was on the phone just before, the connection was still there. What up, wet, dripping, and CMO 146, champ, never lacking. What up, champ? Live Hip Hop Daily. What's happening with you, man?
That nigga said
I know I just sent you that text, and OG Diamond is not at all. Oh yeah, they couldn't hear you. So I know I just sent you that text. So your stepmom, she brought my attention to the young lady that you were talking about the other day, Tuesday, when you were saying about the chick going around telling people that she's a doctor, and I didn't know she was claiming to be a doctor of psychology.
Yes.
I didn't know that. I thought you were saying like a medical doctor or something like that, which is really, really dangerous. But I mean, even that, it's like I give counseling. I give psychological counseling based specifically in the spaces that I've had my own experience, evolution, revelation, and learning. I study the mind sciences. If you spend 10,000 hours on something, that constitutes, assuming that you have some degree of, cognizant the awareness and level of intelligence, and you're stable. right? If you do 10,000 hours or something, you're a professional at it. Right? You know I've done at this point 100,000 hours of fucking study in the mind sciences, clinical sciences, neurology, psychology, so forth, whatever. You know you were there at the very beginning when I began studying this stuff, and uh, I've read I don't know about 4,500 books since 1995. Right, not a lot of books. It really, I'm telling you, it's not a lot of books compared to people who really are crazy readers, like purportedly. Um, what's dude's name from Berkshire Hathaway? Supposedly the best, Warren Buffett. They say Warren Buffett claims to read uh, something like, even when I try to repeat this, it's like something like 500 pages a day, something like that. I don't know how that's possible. There are people who adapt speed reading processes or whatever. I don't know how effective that is, but there are people who read a lot more than me. And I read a lot compared to people who mostly don't read. Most of the people who would identify as what I identify as a black male from the inner city don't read at all. So for me to be a person who reads 4 or 5 books at a time, which I've always done, and to have read as many books as I've read, that's like he reads a lot. He's read a lot of books. When you don't have much of anything, in your tank, then it looks like a guy with a quarter tank or half tank is, filled, right? But if you do 10,000 hours of something, this is something that's been established, as a general accepted thing. If you do 10,000 hours of something, you are a professional at it. Well, I've done far, far beyond 10,000 hours of study of the human behavior, the mammalian brain, behavioral science, and so forth. And I will tell you that I am a self-taught clinician. I will not tell you that I am a doctor, because that's wrong. And it is an indication of a person who is unstable and untrustworthy. So she's claiming she's a doctor, and you should be able to find a record of her doctorate online. And apparently they cannot. So, yeah, she sounds like a crazy person.
She said the proof she could, like, people was like, why don't you just post like pictures of your graduation or your diploma? And she said, I don't have to prove to that. That's only for the non-believers. And my God got
Oh,
people that's on my.
she works on belief.
she,
Oh, that's not belief is not a science.
when she did that, I was like, yeah, she flailing now.
Yeah, belief's not a science. What my wife showed me was her saying something. Her name is Cheyenne
Brian.
something, Cheyenne Bryant. And she was basically like saying, for those who say, because whoever she was speaking to, like it might have been the Breakfast Club set. And whoever she was speaking to said something about what people are saying, that they can't find any record of your doctorate, your certification as a doctor, whatever. And she said, I'm going to address this now, and it's the last time I'm going to address this or whatever, and I thought she was going to say something meaningful and something poignant. And she said, fuck those people.
She blocked
Okay.
me. She blocked me about a year ago. Blocked me about a
Word.
year ago. I was like, hey man, this not right. I said, when she started talking about the school she went to, I just looked up the school. And I'm like, okay, the school lost its accreditation, and it
The
was
school
given
lost its
fraudulent.
accreditation.
Yeah, and the school was given fraudulent degrees because
Mm.
you could pay for this online school, and they'll, give you a degree.
Yeah, she needs if her school lost its accreditation, she needs to stop mentioning that school.
No, she said she didn't want to. After the school lost its accreditation, that they offered her a refund. But if she got the refund, it would disvalidate her her diploma.
I guess as it should. But why? The question should be, why did the school lose its accreditation? And if the school lost its accreditation for its own lack of qualification for accrediting people and giving people that title, then that negates the validity of the title.
So why you don't want the refund of the title that don't matter?
I'm just going to pretend is what that's saying. The woman is in denial. She's in denial for sure, which is a denial is a form of cognitive dissonance. You know, like she just doesn't want to accept reality on reality's terms, which is not a good sign for somebody who claims to be a doctor, a doctor of psychiatry. That's not a good sign. Not a good sign at all. You know, but I've met a lot of females over the years that were in school for psychology and, you know, whatever. And most of the ones that I met in my travels were clearly mentally unstable.
You know what's crazy is a lot of women have complained about female therapists giving them terrible advice and telling them stuff like leave their husband and cheat back and all types of
What the
worldly
fuck? My
ideas.
therapist told me to cheat back.
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
What? That's
It's just
insanity,
like
bro.
it's like she's not really giving you. She's not being your therapist. She basically, you know, basically just being like your homegirl best friend, just telling you all the fucked up shit and it's ruining your situation and making it worse. But it's keeping you in the system of paying her and coming back to see her.
That's right. That which is the point of a person who is doing something like this as a grift or a con or some type of compensation for some sort of deep-seated inadequacy issue. You know, she might have been being told that she was so smart all her life and so cute and whatever have you, and had higher expectations for herself than she was willing to apply herself to actually quantify an outcome. Probably figured, as cute as I am, somebody should just give it to me anyway because I know stuff. So I'm saying, you know what I'm saying?
She
Give me,
says she's a
come on, give me that
daddy's
doctorate. Cute
she's
as
a
I am.
daddy's she's a daddy's girl who grew up with her mother and father, even though her father sold her mother drugs, and she deal with abandonment issues from her father leaving, and that's one of her triggers that if y'all talk about this or communicate this, the little girl in her might come out and you might hear from that little girl from her.
Well, she's definitely right about how traumas can be triggered. And if you had say a trauma at 9 years old and you get triggered, when you get triggered, the 9-year-old version of you that was harmed will tend to take the wheel. It's the kind of thing that makes, say, a girl like her, who is, say, accomplished, maybe some schooling, basically living a structured existence, behaves in a largely socially acceptable manner or respectable manner, and then goes out one night, has 2 or 3 drinks, and wakes up in the bed with some random stranger or two. And it's anybody who would know her would never ever think that she would do something like that. And it's like, well, like, why did I do that? What made me do? What am I doing? Let me grab my stuff. Why am I here? Why would you do this, Cheyenne? What was wrong? What's wrong with you? Why would you do it? So that's the traumatized little girl in her, you know, taking the wheel. You know, once she's not on guard, you drink, and then now you're vigilant. You know, that that guard, that defense against that broken part of you coming forward has been weakened. And now it's like, oh shit, you done fucked up now. I'm loose, bitch. What we doing? You know, because remember, I talked about this before. When, if the thing that I look at it is like this: there are 5 versions of you, 5 aspects of you that make the total of you. One of them is nurtured by the primary female in your life, which would generally be your mother, right? Under all, circumstances being, normal. The primary male role model would be your father. And you have another adult who is not your mother or father, but maybe somebody close, like an older brother, maybe a 15-year older brother, or an uncle who is older in your life, and they're kind of about protecting you, but they're not about insulating you. So the kinds of things that your mother and father wouldn't expose you to, they would, right? So they serve as that older mentor kind of exposure type of person. Like, don't tell your motherfucker, yeah, smoke that, drink that, whatever. It ain't gonna fucking kill you. You're not gonna go to hell like they said you're gonna do. You ain't gonna be a fucking junkie. Go ahead and try that shit. You know what I'm saying? You know what it's about. That way somebody can give you some shit. You be like, that's not weed, that's angel dust, whatever. Like, they expose you in ways that your mother and father wouldn't, right? Then you have that primary friend, that is like your peer, they're your age-wise person. They might be your first cousin, might be, a friend you grew up with in your neighborhood, whatever. Maybe your first friend you made at school, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, or something like that. And then y'all grow up together, and that's your social nurturing, your social developing, experience, and they're the ones that help you to kind of learn how to be tolerant of others, and how to accept others, and how to get along with other people, how to build relationships, and ultimately they teach you how things don't always go the way you would think they would, or think they should, or the way you think they should, based upon the fact that this person is your friend, your close friend, whatever. And that, you learn these kind of life lessons that you're going to end up learning over and over again any fucking way before you really fucking start acting like but they kind of serve that part. And then there's this 5th person who is the maybe a teacher, an educator, somebody who is, unlike your mother and father, not trying to insulate you from the world, and sometimes crippling you and disenabling you from developing in a manner that you need to in order to be ready for the fucking world, and in a less inappropriate way than the uncle or older brother who is like not quite a fucking adult themselves, but no longer a kid, and is not as much as interested in insulating you as they are in like what they think is preparing you. This person is probably a teacher or some type of other more responsible, more educated, socialized person who is going to give you more of a structured perspective on how to behave as you grow into yourself more appropriately, for the world outside of your mother, father, older brother, uncle, and friend, but like in the world. Like, this is the world. This is not your little circle. This is the world, and those 5 influences, they nurture different aspects of who you are. You can compare it to a plant that needs, first, a plant starts off as a seed, right? The seed goes into the soil. The soil is the foundation. That soil, it just can't be dirt. It has to be, has to have nutrition in it. Nutrition sufficient for a seed to be given the signal to sprout, to produce first roots, right? The seed is here, it's in the dirt. It first produces roots, and then it produces a sprig and starts to grow upward, right? So the soil is one thing, maybe the mother, right? And I guess the person who placed the seed, that's father, right? And that's also going to be the person who provides the water, right? The provider, right? And going to make sure that if it's cold, you bring it in. You remember how I used to treat my plant, Little Warrior, right? the one thing that Karen left when she took everything else.
Yep.
It was her plant. I don't know where she left that, but I kept it alive for years. I think my wife killed it though, leaving outside. So, so the soil is the mom and the planter of the seed is the dad, and he protects and creates the environment. These are classical role, scenarios. Because obviously mommy and daddy, at this point can alternate in those roles, you know what I'm saying? But in a classical sense, this would be the case, right? Mommy would be the soil, and she's proper, and she has all the necessary things so that when dad plants the seed in her, that she is healthy enough and has enough well-being, physically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, that seed will, take root and then ultimately grow and come into life, right? And now daddy has to provide sun and water and fertilizer, and then, it has to be, it'll grow, it has to be transitioned from the pot, to a larger pot, maybe taken outside. And, now, uncle comes along and it's like, yo, smoke that right there. Check that, taste that. Ooh, it's nasty. Yeah, that's vodka, motherfucker. Or maybe that was just me. What? But it's like, the way that these roles apply to a seed growing into a sprig and then producing, roots, and then a sprig, and then, leaves and growing, and ultimately getting to a point where it's not just alive, but it's vibrant. That means it's not just growing, it's not just there, but it's now producing flowers. Because a plant can exist and live, and you can have it for years, and then one day after 10 years, it produces a flower. And it's like, I didn't know this shit produced flowers. Like, the flower all this time never produced flowers. Is because you hadn't given it sufficient amount of nutrition. You hadn't put it in the sun. You hadn't given enough sun. It hadn't gotten enough of something in order for it to produce to its full potential, for it to grow to its full potential. That is how human beings work. If they don't get one of these primary influences, then there'll be an aspect of it that won't develop. Even though they'll still be alive, there'll be something missing from what it could be based upon its innate potential, what exists in it, that has to be brought out of it by an external circumstance or condition that influences that coming forth. When one of those things is not nurtured, either through neglect or abuse, then that part always has some degree of negative impact on this being, right? And if the other aspects are strong enough, influential enough, then the being can, like a plant, grow and get big and produce leaves and all of that. But that flowering doesn't actually happen, but they all right. They alive, they got a job, they finish school, they get a career, they get married, have children, have a home. That thing that never got nurtured, that would produce that full fruition, bring to full fruition that true potential, that absolute potential, it just kind of lingers. So if you think about each one of these relationships impacting a different version of you, any of these that doesn't happen means that version of you doesn't grow to its full potential. So instead of being that big, it's that big, but it's there. It's just like that. But these are so fulfilled that they kind of compensate for what's missing here. Nobody even notices that this is like this. Just like people don't notice this. People don't notice it until I show it to them.
I notice.
Right? Well, you know it all your life. You know what I mean? But you were probably 7, 8 years old before you recognized it. You're probably even a little older than that before you recognized it.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, in moments of reduced vigilance, where you're not paying as close attention because you've been drinking. So you're not as much on top of making sure that those other aspects of you are acting in their full developed potential. Then, can you hear that? Okay. Wifey's out there. She's almost finished building the last of the planters. So, yeah, Hercules Acres. Go to HerculesAcres.org too, y'all. HerculesAcres.org and check out the site and see what we got going. This is for the farm, agri-tour farm. So when those other compensating aspects of you that are fully developed are weakened by you being off point, and you drinking, you kicking, you hanging out, and you had 2 drinks too many, those they kind of fade, and this motherfucker start rearing his head like, yeah, what's up? And it looks around at the other 4 versions of you that are, well adjusted, educated, mature, and hip, right? But not quite socially. Remember, this is the one that's the friend. This is the one that you developed, and having that friendship, that person that you grew up with, that y'all were close. First cousin, childhood friend, whatever, that at some point did some shit that made you go like, friend? What kind of friend would do some shit like that? Because you're going to have that, right? So that part of you may not have ever recovered from that betrayal, that disappointment, or whatever have you.
Boundaries,
right?
that boundary cross.
Perfect. So you were paying attention.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. I'm glad. I love when I get I've been realizing that more and more and more and more, but every now and then you'll do something like that and make me go, well, like you really were paying attention, because you were always super smart, just like your sons, like super fucking smart, like always. The other day, off the mark a bit, I'm talking to your baby. He gets on the phone. He said, "Hi, Grandpa." He said, "This is my new stuffy froggy," and it's this stuffed frog, right? And I said, "It's beautiful. It must be brand new. It's super bright and vibrant. You can tell it hasn't been touched much, right?" And it was like this, what somebody might call aqua color, right? And I was like, "Oh man, he's a beautiful color. What is that? Teal?" And he goes, "No, I think it's cyan." Did I know what cyan was when I was 7? Fuck no, I didn't know what cyan was when I was 7. I probably didn't know what cyan was, and I was an art student in a fucking art school, the top art school in New York. I didn't know what cyan was in high school, probably. When I got there, you know what I mean? Like 7 years old, said cyan. I said, I'm remembering the color wheel, and I'm like, I think you're right. So I say, I'm having a brain fart. I say, cyan. I said, S-I-E. He said, "No, it's C-Y-A-N." I was like, what the fuck? This motherfucker is brilliant. He is brilliant. Bravo, man. Bravo, son. He is fucking brilliant, man. I mean, I know he's been on the, fucking dean's list since he fucking started school, whatever. I'm just saying, like, it never ceases to amaze. Fucking brilliant, man. So, that aspect that doesn't get the boundary nurturing, that has the boundaries violated and creates a degree of trauma, that creates trauma. Your best friend stole your fucking Star Wars, stormtrooper. He did, because he was here, he was playing with it, was here, you showed it to him, and then when he left, you couldn't find it. When you was cleaning up and putting shovel, you couldn't find it. He stole it. It's like, wow, my best friend stole my shit. And then, you may or may not say something. You may ask and he say, "Oh, no, I didn't do it, whatever, it's cool." But eventually he's going to do more stuff like that, right? And then at some point you're going to have that epiphany. It's like, yo, this guy's not my fucking friend, right? And it's going to have an impact on your trust ability, right? And because he violated your boundaries. If you don't get proper help with managing that, then it's a scar that scabs over. But the wound was never addressed. It never really healed. It just scabbed over. but that scab is there. And so when you become an adult, although you, from all the other influences, may be fine and functional and forward in life, that part of you is like a trigger. And so whenever that is triggered, you do things that are beneath what the other four aspects of you are indicative of. You're usually responsible and mature and express intelligence and hipness but last night you had too many drinks and you woke up today in the bed with somebody you don't fucking know, and it's like, what the fuck? How can I, the responsible, intelligent, mature, and aware person I am, how could I do something like this? And it's because of that. It's because when that trigger is set, or that protection is weakened by an altered state, like being drunk, that broken aspect of you at the age of, well, it's still that age. You might be 30, but that shit is still 8 because that's when it happened. And when the 8-year-old gets in control of the 30-year-old's body and money and credit card and all that, you be like, you look at the credit card, I bought how many bottles of champagne? What the fuck? What the fuck was I thinking? Oh my God, what was I thinking? That's where all that shit comes from. That unaddressed trauma, that little inner child that never got nurtured along with all the other aspects of your being, that they were nurtured and they grew up to their full fruition and became adults. But not that motherfucker. He didn't become an adult. He just kind of sat in the cut like this. I ain't get what I want. I ain't never got what I want. What about me? And the first chance they get, they gonna stick their foot out and trip up the rest of you motherfuckers. And that's how you end up with the fucking $3,000 credit card bill because you went on a fucking spending binge, or you had 2 drinks too many and all of a sudden it was Shakespeare, open bar me. And you end up in some fucking hotel somewhere, somebody's random ass house, with the inappropriate shit going to fuck. You feel me? Somebody laughing. But this is real shit. And a lot of y'all will recognize what I'm talking about. In this explanation, you'll be like, oh shit, word.
Nah,
You know
yeah,
what I'm
cause
saying?
you remember when Lee was supposed to come to your birthday and we couldn't find him, and then we found his ass in a coma because he was drunk at some
Yes.
bar, got in the car with
Yes.
some random motherfuckers, and they knocked his ass in the head and threw him on the curb.
And was the car moving when they threw him out the car? Because he was fucked up
No,
and went to the hospital.
they
See
threw
him.
him out the moving car
He
after they
was
hit him
fucked
in the
up.
head.
And if it hadn't been for somebody finding him, he would have died from the exposure because he was laying face down on cold concrete or something like that, right?
Yep, and it was shit. Your birthday in November, so it's cold outside.
Yes, it's cold as a motherfucker. He damn near that changed him,
That changed his
and
life.
he was really a fool.
He was
Somebody
wild.
PJ said Dr. Jekyll Mr. Hyde.
He was wild.
He was a fucking fool, man. He was like not civilized.
Yeah,
You
I
know what I
know a
mean?
wild ass white boy. I used to be like,
Yeah, yeah.
boy.
This is my white son, y'all. It's my white son. Um, but that shit right there changed him in ways that I was surprised. It usually, believe it or not, takes more than that for somebody who was as far left as he was to get right. Believe it or not. Like, they got to lose a lot more than damn near their life to really get it right. Seriously. Which I think is a good transition into what I wanted to talk about. And I lost my fucking page. I'm gonna go back and find it, but I'm gonna just hit it from here. The kid Sean something, who Julio's killer, and his, I know y'all seen this, his death penalty hearing. Y'all seen that, right? Y'all seen the death penalty hearing, right?
when they was talking about how he won't and the death penalty here, and if he don't get the death penalty, they like he'll spend life in jail. There's no such thing as parole or probation, so he'll die in jail, and then even after death, he'll still be in jail because his body will never be free.
And so there was a warden, a former warden, who talked about, I think the prosecutor, or maybe it was his lawyer, that said, what do you think would be the value, or would there be value in keeping him alive so that he could serve the state? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it'd be a waste, basically be a waste of a good cow.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing. That's right, Trey Oxendine, sweat equity. The sweat equity, he's young, he's strong, he's healthy, right? So cost of maintaining him, he's 20 years old. He's been in jail since he was 18 behind this stupid shit. So the maintaining of him is, that's right, PJ, maybe said 13th, that's right, 13th Amendment, which says that slavery in this country is abolished except when you are convicted of a crime and incarcerated. That means you no longer have the rights of a citizen. You are every bit of a slave. That's in the Constitution, just in case you somehow don't know. So they basically said he's young, he's healthy, which means it would be a minimal cost to the state to keep him alive, to keep him, as opposed to somebody who coming in there like a friend of mine who just got picked up. And I'm not going to say his name, but he just got picked up by the people. I don't think it was the feds. I think it was some kind of task force from like upstate, and it was some from upstate, like Terrytown somewhere, and Jersey, because they grabbed him from Jersey, and they grabbed some cats from the Bronx. He's the second man down from the top of the pyramid. So it's, I guess, the supplier, him, and then everybody else out like that. Not that everybody's directly connected to him, but you know, everybody else that's connected to him, everybody else is connected to the people who are connected to him. It's not a good position to be when you're on that chart, on that pyramid. So he's the same age as me. And the last time I saw him, he did not look well. He looked like a person who did not eat right. He looked, we're the same age. He looks like he could be my father's brother. Like he's about 70. I shit you not. Fly's a motherfucker, but he like 70 years old in the face. I mean, just, and that's what that light does to you, because it keeps you at this hyper vigilant state. Imagine, I'm trying to think of a general condition or circumstance that a regular person who's not in the street would be in, where they would be highly like, so I guess you're out, you got on your favorite jacket, your favorite sneakers, you're 14 years old, you're somewhere, and you see that there's some guys plotting on your sneakers, and they're going to try to rob you before you leave, or you think they're going to try to rob you before you leave, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to get out of this skating rink without getting robbed, and kind of go home in your socks or some shit like that, with maybe $1.50 or something like that. Like, in your hypervigilant, you like stress, you're in, fight, flight, or freeze mode, whatever. Now imagine you live a life that keeps you in that condition 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're not meant to be in that condition 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's the equivalent of, to use another analogy upon an analogy, it's equivalent of, say you're a tire. You're a tire, you're a brand new tire, and motherfucker put you on and then immediately hits the gas and peels off. And then hits the brakes when you get to the stop sign. Now, however long you were designed to last will be cut short, exponentially shorter than it would have, because of the extra wear and tear, because of the excessive use. That's how you as a human being are. You will be worn out earlier. So if your mind and body is supposed to last you for your 85, on average, really, for men, like 72, 73, for women, like at this point 78, depending on whether you're black or white. If you're white, it's more like 82. White black is like 78. Male, that's female. Male is like 73. If your body's supposed to last you, your body and your mind is supposed to last you for the duration, meaning be fully operative for the duration of that time. When you live that life, as long as homies lived that life, homie probably was. I started in 1980. Homie probably started somewhere in the mid 80s. Most cats my age weren't in the street when I was in the street. That's why all my peers and all my ex-girlfriends were 10 years older than me. That's, you know what I mean? Like your mother and your sister, younger sister's mothers are the only. I think your mother might be older than me, maybe by a year or so. A month or so. Okay.
July.
Okay.
You in July? She in
I'm in November. She's in July.
She in July.
Yeah. But the average guy my age at that time, 1980, was not in the street at all. Didn't even have access to it because there was no crack. There was no crack era or whatever. So there was no cheap drug you go about, right? Cocaine was expensive and heroin was super expensive. So you had to be connected to somebody in order to have access to it, period. So he probably got in the street around 85. And he's been in the street ever since. Only time he wasn't in the street was when he was in prison. So he's been in that life a long time, 40 years. Right? 40, 43, 45 years, 43 years, something like that, maybe, right? So it was like he was burning out. He's a tire that's been on, the nigga that's been sitting there, with his foot on the brake and his foot on the gas, spinning and turning, whatever, and he looked like it. When I saw him and we took the picture I saw it in his face. Just like I saw it in Meech's face before when they were on him, when they were on him, not when it was like actively looking for this nigga to put him in prison. It's on. Niggas is going down and we on you. When I've been there where everybody getting popped and they on me, I know what it feels like. So when I see it in other people, I know what I'm looking at and I can see it. It's like my man Nas out of Remore. That day that we were together and I told you, yo, when he pulled up on us by Panera Bread in Buckhead on Peachtree, and I said, yo, take a picture of us because it's gonna be the last time I see my man. So I know you're going to prison. I can see it because when you're in that existence, and he had done 8, 10 years before in the feds already, so he already knew what it was, and I could see it in his face that he knew. It's like I was telling you all about how the subconscious works and how it picks up on every fucking thing. Niggas know when the wind shifts and things start feeling differently, looking differently. And you start seeing that paranoia. That paranoia comes from the subconscious being hyper aware of all these different things that are changing around you that you recognize, like, it's telling you, it's like Spidey sense, it's setting shit off. That's right, PJ, gut instinct. They call it gut instinct, but and they call it gut instinct because you have a second brain in your stomach. I don't know if I should go there. Probably shouldn't go there. Maybe I'll talk about that next week on Tuesday, whatever. Because it deserves to be really spoken to in a succinct way. It deserves a whole episode, that second brain. But look it up. Do some research. Look up the second brain. Just look up that term, the second brain, right? And let me see. I wonder what would happen if I ask. This is what I tell some of my clients. Give me, to look up stuff like that, give me an explanation of the term second brain that a 6th grader would understand. And the reason I say that is because of if you don't, then it'll use terminology that is more for a person who's familiar with certain things. That's right, PJ. That's why gut health is very important. That's right. You're laughing, but seriously, right? So I tell it to, break it down like that in simple terms so that a person who's not familiar with any of it can relate it to something that they are familiar with, right? So, and they usually break it down like that. Okay, so a second brain is a nickname for the network of nerves in your gut that helps control digestion. It works with your real brain to send messages about hunger, stomach pain, and when food is moving through your body. All right, think of it like this is your main brain is the boss in your head, and your second brain is the helper in your belly that handles stomach and intense jobs. It doesn't solve math or do homework, but it does help your body know when something feels wrong. Here's a simple way to say it. Your brain thinks and makes choices. Your second brain helps your stomach and intestine work. All right. To two talk to each other all the time. Explain how this relationship manifests in
Explain how it manifests in
situational
relationships.
awareness. Huh?
Explain how it manifests in relationships. Bitch be like, I feel in my stomach you about to do something. It's like, bitch, you got gas. Like, you don't
Well,
feel shit. You
the
know,
other thing is when the woman says that, she's 9 times out of 10 correct. 9 times out of 10. So it shows up in the feedback loop. So this is the part right here, right? It shows up in the feedback loop between what your body feels inside and what's happening around you. When your gut brain system sends signals like hunger, nausea, pain, or butterflies, your brain uses that information to judge how alert, safe, or stressed you are, which affects situational awareness.
Mm-hmm.
In simple terms, situational awareness means noticing what's going on, understanding what it means, and deciding what to do next. If your second brain says something feels off, like you're anxious, sick, or hungry, your main brain may pay more attention to the environment, react faster, or make different choices. There you go. So I guess it doesn't require a whole episode. So, and understanding those connections, understanding how this works and how it works in connection with everything else is what gives somebody who has that understanding an advantage over someone who doesn't. Right? So I had those kinds of understandings in the street. Your grandmother gave me those. She gave me those understandings without explaining the clinical components of it. She just indoctrinated me with these things and said, this is how it is. This is what you will think. And this is how you will act. And I'm not explaining why, because I said so, motherfucker. You know how she was. Sweet
You
old
said the
lady.
same thing, but you explained. You allowed us to ask questions.
Yes.
But you
Yes.
you
Because I
said the
didn't
same
like it.
shit.
Yes, I
But
did.
you allowed us to ask
Right.
questions.
That's right. Because I didn't like the diminishing of my significance as a person just because I'm not in charge and I'm only, 3 feet tall, 4 feet tall, and I don't pay any bills. Like, so what I think and what I say don't mean anything. It's just do what you're told. And that's these Jim Crow people. That's what they were on. Like, fuck what you talking about. Listen to what I'm saying. You don't know shit. And they were right. But it doesn't really help when you tell somebody that their thoughts and ideas are invalid because they don't know anything, because it undermines their ability to develop a sense of self and confidence, which they're going to need. Even with you giving what you're giving them, they're going to need the confidence to believe that they've got that and that they can apply that, even though they ain't you, or they ain't grown, or they're not paying bills, or they're not in charge, or they're not the boss. So it doesn't make sense for you to give them this insight, but then undermine them by saying, you ain't nothing but a kid, shut the fuck up. You know what you're talking about. You listen to me, you do what I say, or I'll throw you out the fucking window, type shit. Or maybe that was just my mother.
That had to be a weird situation because it's like she say that to you, but anybody say something to you, you know that applied to them, and nothing applies. So it's like it's a weird space. Like I can't really say that to you, but all you other motherfuckers, hey.
And that's what it was. It didn't matter whether you were the teacher or whatever. Like, I can't say nothing to her, but the rest of you motherfuckers, I'm channeling her. You're gonna think you talking to her. I don't give a fuck. They'd be like, yo, did you hear what Mr. Hodges said to me today? Oh my God. What kind of a kid talks like that? What kind of a child talks like that? He was so specific about what he was going to do to me. Like he'd done it before. I don't know. I'm passing him. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm passing him. I don't want his mother to come in here or his father to come in here. You know what I mean? It's fortunate I didn't turn out really, really fucked up. For real. We're like really, really fucked up. Yeah. There's probably people like people who went to school with me like Slick Rick or Dana Dane, poor Dana Dane, the shit I did to him. Or, you know, Carlton Payne or Tashina Arnold, you know, any, they probably like, he didn't turn out fucked up. We remember you, nigga. We remember you were a terrorist. But you know, I never meant harm. I just didn't know better. I didn't mean any harm. You know what I mean? But getting back to this situation that this young man finds himself in at 20 years old, this guy who went all the way through school, graduated high school, and had started going to college and decided he would do some Grand Theft Auto / what was that other military game that niggas was playing all the time?
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty.
That's what he was playing when they called him to come down there to go slide on foolio. He was at the house playing Call of Duty, and his nice home with his family, his mom, his dad, his sister, and everybody.
And now they're talking about him like cattle. Oh yeah, we can put him out there in the field and work him and he'll never get out. We'll work him to the day he dies, and we'll give him a number when he walks into that prison. We'll give him a number, and he'll have that number for the rest of his life. And we're going to take good care of him, make sure it's a long life. And because we're going to get as much work out of him as we possibly can, we're going to extract as much value out of him as we possibly can. You know, like the old ways when we had control of these people, when we came here to their land and waged war against them for 100-some fucking years before we were finally able to overtake them and incarcerate them on these plantations and, start calling them all kinds of other things other than the indigenous people that they are, and, changing their identity and changing their history and all this other shit. Yeah, we're going to do like that. That's what we're trying to get to. That's why we're gerrymandering. We're trying to get back to that. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely. We can take them. Don't kill them. We can use them. We ain't got to, you know what I mean? We ain't got to do nothing but like just plug and play with him. He's young, he's strong, he's virile, he's smart. Oh man, he'll be good on the plantation. That's essentially what they were saying. That's what the white guy was saying. But the funny thing was, he was saying it in an effort to save his fucking life. So there was a part where he said, he was wearing a turtleneck. He was wearing a blazer and a turtleneck. The turtleneck was rolled down like this. I hate people who roll their turtleneck down. This motherfucker turtleneck rolled down. I just want to stand here as a man and take responsibility, for this tragic thing that occurred. What tragic thing that occurred? You mean you deliberately murdering this young man? Tragic thing that occurred? Yeah, and, I just want to, offer my condolences, for this event, this unfortunate event. And, I really regret, that this happened, so forth. So the prosecutor was like, so when did the regret kick in? Did the regret kick in when you got back in the car and the AK-40, the AR-14 or 15 that you fired and killed this young man, was still smoking beside you in the car? Is that when the regret kicked in? Is that when it kicked in? Did the regret kick in when you were shown the post-mortem photos of Foolio, on the autopsy table? Is that when the regret kicked in? Uh, did the regret kick in after y'all went to the club and got the bottle of Don Julio to kind of commemorate the killing of Julio? Is that when the regret kicked in? When did the regret kick in? The prosecutor was having none of it.
Mm-hmm.
None of it. Oh, I'm so good. It's like, I think about, it's like, yeah, he's 20. And I've talked to y'all about that prefrontal cortex and how it doesn't develop in the male until they're 26 years old. So their ability, and I've explained to y'all what the prefrontal cortex does, that it's where your executive functions are. It's where your ability to use logic, to consider the different things that make up a situation and consider their relationship to one another to make the best decision about what you should do or what is the right thing to do in the situation, what is not the right thing to do in the situation. That full ability doesn't develop until you're 26 years old in a male. In a female, it's like 23. And so, or 22, something like that. So I get all of that and I understand all that. But I'm not so far from previous iterations of myself, less evolved versions of myself, that I don't recognize what my sentence would have been for him. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I get it. I get it. Like, yeah, I get you sorry and all of that. But you got to go. You got to go. Like I've said before, sometimes you get the lesson because something happens and you deal with consequences, but you live to adapt from the information that comes from the experience. You learn, but sometimes you don't get to survive the experience. And in that instance, you are the lesson. So sometimes you get the lesson, sometimes you get to be the lesson. Right? And in an instance like this, under other circumstances, I would be like, you out of here, buddy. You out of here. You out of here. Plain and simple. You're fucking out of here. And you better not be with anybody that you care about when your time comes. And that's just the reality. Right? So it's like, I don't want to see him be, when they give him the lethal injection. I don't want to see him executed. I'd like to think that he could really be useful in helping some of the young men who follow him inevitably into the situation, who won't have life sentences. And when Florida say life, they mean life. It means you will never get out. There is no parole. You're done. It's over. This is where you will be for the rest of the remainder of your days on this planet. And he could be a guiding light to somebody like him who may have 5, 10, 15, even 20 years. And that could be useful, not just to them, but to the society they have to return back to, the community they have to return back to. But at the same time, it's like another message that could potentially be more resounding in his execution could be sent. And whereas he might be able to impact 10, 15 people maybe in his time before his time expires in there as they cycle in and out of that system, his execution could maybe impact hundreds, if not thousands. So, I mean, whatever fate has in store for him, he's going to have to deal with it one way or the other. But he's up there crying. His mother came across as a person who did not raise him under circumstances and situations where he would be inclined to make the kinds of choices that he made. I didn't see a father at all in the little clips that I watched. But even in the mother got on the stage and on the on the stand, and she said, she started up by saying, I don't believe that, that's not my son. I don't believe that my son did this. And the judge said, hold up, stop. As soon as she said, I don't believe my son, that's my son, whatever, the prosecutor said objection. The lawyer, the judge said sustain. I'm going to sustain that. But it's like, I don't believe that my son is objection, sustain. Like, boom, boom, like real fast. Like, ain't nobody going for it in here, lady. Nobody's going for it. A jury has deemed him guilty. He is the one who did this. He's the guilty party. There's no, we're not, it's ambiguous about whether or not he did this or not. He's the motherfucker, he did it. So we're not going to have that. We're not playing that game. So you want to speak about who he is as your son, how you raised him, speak to his character and all that, whatever, cool. But he's already convicted for this, period. This is about whether we're going to kill him or not. Whether we're going to kill him or put him in a can for the rest of his fucking days. That's what we're talking about here. We're past that, Mom. And I don't know if you remember a few weeks back, I mentioned that when they grabbed this guy, when they grabbed him and all the rest of them, they all were picked up at nice homes. Nobody was in the hood. And they was like, come outside, back up, walk backwards. Like, they were being called out of nice houses and nice neighborhoods, period. So this kid made the kinds of decisions. PJ Mayhem said some cold-blooded shit. PJ said they got to do it on camera. They would if they could. They've been trying to televise executions. People have put that idea forward for many decades, doing it on camera, because it's been argued that there's been no market decline in capital crimes that potentially subject a person to being executed based upon the fact that people get executed for those crimes. Like, people still commit the crimes. So it's like, it's not a deterrent. It's kind of been statistically proven that the death penalty is not a deterrent for crime. It's just state-sanctioned murder. And yeah, there's something like, if a person kills a child, like that dude killed his stepson, the 4-year-old little boy, whatever, and he's got the death penalty. I believe that person should be executed. I think they should spend 10, 15, 20 years in complete isolation and then executed. You should spend the entire time by yourself with nothing but you and your thoughts, thinking about what you did and what's going to happen inevitably. Maybe that's not, maybe that's insensitive. Maybe that's insensitive to the humanity in people. But I come from a world where I understand that not everybody has humanity. Some people's wiring does not include humanity, bro. It's not there. Like Donald Trump and any other malignant narcissist. That's not part of who they don't have humanity. There is no humanity in a person like that. They don't care about harm. That psychopath in them is incapable of feeling empathy for the people, for being able to register the negative harm or impact that their behaviors or choices have on other people. It's not there. It's like a baby. The structure is there in a baby, but if a baby is never taught the right, the wrong, no, stop, don't do that, don't hit, if they're not taught that, if they're never taught that, it'll never just come out of them, man. If there's nothing to counter, they don't have an experience when they do something and something they don't want happens in return, they'll never correlate their behaviors with the impact, the negative impact that it has on other people or the world around.
So what does that have to? What is that? How does that impact their their second brain?
Or how's it? Again, this is wiring. Remember, the second brain is communicating with the boss. But if the boss is fucked up, then whatever that second brain is communicating is being either missed altogether or at least misinterpreted. Mm-hmm. It may manifest in fear of being outshined, fear of being outdone, outpaced, outmaneuvered. So justify a volatile response, a destructive response. So, I was pretty sure they was going to do something to me. I feared for my life. I feared for my life. You feared for your life for a guy lying on the ground, unable to get up with their hands in clear view. You feared for your life. Yes, the melanin in their skin, it was frightening to me. I was afraid that if he gets up and have sex with my wife, the children will be black, and then all whiteness will be erased from the planet. If you get it, you get it. So, yeah, that's how I see it anyway. I mean, what the fuck do I know? I'm a 10th grade dropout.
He's not a doctor.
Not a doctor. That's right. So, and if they don't say you got it, then you don't got it, right? Of course, because they them, they God, right? That's why they God looks just like them. The God they gave you looks just like them, coincidentally. So much, man. So much. But that's all we got time for today. Other than that, man, everything's son. Everything's good.
Yep, I'm in Dallas this weekend.
Where at?
Dallas Comedy Club.
Okay. Well, everybody know down in Dallas, man, son will be there this weekend. What day? Saturday,
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. My main show, the big show is Sunday. Like, I'm just going on other people's show, but our show, me and Dub show, is Sunday.
Okay, tell Dub I said what up. What's up, Dub? Let's shout out some of these people before we get up out of here, man. We got our people in here. Of course, we got PJ. PJ been tapping in since we started. We got Baltimore History Channel. We got Policy 218. We got Trey Oxendine in the building. We got BK Mile. We got who else? Who else in this motherfucker? All is One, WON1. All is One 999. We got Willie Ring in here tonight on the We Papa and Son talk show, the #1 father and son talk show in the world. We got 29 2Ls. That's 29 TWOLS. I guess that's 29 2Ls or 29 12s. I don't know. One of them two. Rodney M176. Spivey.Carl. We got in here. Spivey Carl in the building. Henry Lee III. What up, Henry? What's happening with you, man? We got Hassan Scott 724. We got TC Williams 90. Beans Burberry. JR 809 LES, been with us since the beginning. Big Bam 37. Mike of DC. What's happening, Mike? What's going on, Joe? Mini Bob 30. What up, Mini Bob? We got KP, that dude. What's happening, K Pizzle? WHTLR Urban Radio. WHTL Urban Radio, rather. We got them in the building. G Money Bronx, the real. We got Domo Dinero, Black Beauty Q, Robert 1377 Rodriguez. We got Chill to Cool Universal P82, DJ Cars, the Chef. We got the Great Black Gatsby. That's taking on a lot. Great Black Gatsby. If you know what that's about. You know what I mean? Some of y'all be showing that y'all be reading. I don't know if I said Hassan Scott 724. I don't think I did. We got who else in here? Let me see who I did not. Universe DJ Card, DJ Ty Sports Picks, Ty Sports Picks 24. We got in here. What up, Ty Sports Picks? Sexy Love Nat in here. Of course, Love Hip Hop Daily. He jumped in early. CMO 146. You know, of course, Champ Never Lacking. Of course, Wet Dripping, and JTXP, you did, and I think that's everybody. I think, Joseph Column, Joseph C. Column, and we are Cougar. Okay, I think that is, Apald 1. Okay, Apald 1, I appreciate you. I think you might have missed it, but this is definitely one for the book. You should rewind and check it out. Some good information, I believe. I think so anyway. I mean, this shit has helped me stay alive, healthy, fucking free, and functional, my nigga. Like, you know what I mean? Hopefully, when y'all get 60 years old, and no, I don't use no Beijing and all that other shit. When y'all get 60 years old, you will be as well in your existence as I am in mine. It is all about the decisions you make, and I mean all of them. The people you get involved with. What up, Ed? Ed Morning 77. Where the hell you been? About to get about here, man. You know, your diet, which consists of everything, not just what you put in your mouth, but what you put in your eyes, what you put in your ears, what you put on your skin. All of it is consumption. All of it is your diet. You know, what do you feed your mind? What do you feed your spirit? What do you feed your body? You know, exercising, being quiet for a few minutes every day. Just be real quiet, man. Don't say nothing. Don't do nothing. Don't touch nothing. Don't communicate with nobody. Just sit with your thoughts. That's the reason that when niggas go to jail and they put them in solitary confinement, that's why solitary confinement is a punishment to them, because they're so unaccustomed to spending time with their own thoughts that when they get locked away with their own thoughts, it drives a lot of motherfuckers crazy. Because everything they do, getting high, drinking, fucking, chasing pussy, chasing dick, whatever the fuck, chasing money, doing anything for money, all that shit is about avoiding being alone with your own thoughts and trying to layer yourself with insulation that will prevent anybody else from knowing the truth about you that you're hiding from your fucking self. So when you're taken away from society and having everything in society taken away from you and then placed into a box, and it's just you and your thoughts, now you're hearing the voice that you've been ignoring since you were 7 or 17. And it's the stuff that you remember that you never dealt with. The stuff that you, instead of dealing with, you just worked around it, you know, did something that made people say things to you that were indicative of something else that was opposite of the truth that you were avoiding hearing in your own head about yourself. And now here you are with nothing but that. And they put you in that room with nothing, but in some instances, nothing. Just the floor, the ceiling, the walls, no mattress, no clothes, no light, nothing. And you just in there. Drive a motherfucker crazy. You know, and it shouldn't. You being alone with your thoughts should not drive you crazy. That should not be punishment. You know? So just mind your diet. Mind what you're taking in. That includes the company you keep. You know? And yeah, that's all I got, man. See you guys on Tuesday. Make sure you tap in. Make sure you go to the YouTube and look at the episodes. Make sure you're following us here. Make sure you're following comedian Tymillz. Make sure you're following Cavario, the Mind Plug. Make sure you're following us on our YouTubes. The same, Cavario the Mind Plug and comedian Tymillz. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're encouraging this. Make sure you're pushing this. You're sharing this with people you love and respect. And checking us out on iHeart Radio, at Blazin420 WPAM, and making sure that you're listening and applying to the best of your ability what is being shared with you here. Because a great many of you will never come into contact with it anywhere else. You will never hear the things that, these young black guys are talking about from other young black guys. You won't, because it's just not what's on young black guys' minds. And what's on a majority of young black guys' minds is not conducive to anything useful. It's just the truth. You have a very, very destructive, backward, progressive, just useless fucking culture, man. Just a useless ass culture. So I love you, my son.
Love you too, Pop.
And for the rest of y'all, man, y'all know what it is, man. We got to think critically in order to live wonderfully, man. Peace.